but welcome to the Davis McGrath LLC IP webinar series for May 1st, 2013. Today's topic is using the Trademark Clearinghouse with the new gTLDs. We will be going for about 30 minutes. The recording and slides will be shown on the address on your screen, which is blog.davismcgrath.com/webinars, where you can also sign up for a webinar mailing list. For those of you who need Illinois MCLE credit, if you haven't already done so, please send your name and ARDC number to me, and we will certainly endeavor to get you credit. For those of you who are watching the recording, you can send me your name and ARDC number and how you viewed the webinar, and we'll endeavor to get you credit as well. So today we're going to cover just briefly just what is a top-level domain, where are we in the process with these new domains that are coming out. We're going to talk about the Trademark Clearinghouse and some steps and considerations that are people should consider as to how to adopt and how to proceed to go forward with it. Our prior webinar on this topic was back in July. And the address is shown on your screen to view the recording. And just to briefly summarize, though, top-level domains in the past have been strings like .com, .net, and .org. Those are the three big ones, as well as lots of country codes that are out there. In the last year and a half, there's been a lot of ramping up of new top-level domains that it's quite simply was anything to the right of the dot. And a lot of companies and some speculators have come in and filed applications with ICANN to become registries of these new top-level domains. There were over 1,930 applications for new top-level domains. There are 230 of them with more than one applicant, and so there's 751 applications for these, contested strings. So we'll have to see how those played out as to whether or not any of these are going to come out. There are 84 what are called community applications, which are strings designed to show membership in a community, such as a geographic or like a city, or possibly even membership of an affiliation, part of a group. So some of the ones that are currently in major contention, there are 13 people that applied for .app, 11 for .home, 11 for .inc, 9 for .blog, 9 for .llc. So you might see that there's a lot of speculation here, and we'll have to see which one of these pans out in terms of actually becoming an actual top-level domain. There's also some internationalized domains that are coming online. And these are 116 of them currently being applied for, which are made up of non-English characters. For example, the string that's shown on your screen is Japanese for book, and Amazon, the European office of Amazon, has applied for that, and they'll certainly endeavor to monopolize that for their books in Japan. But briefly, the Trademark Clearinghouse is an organization that's been set up. It's independent of ICANN. It's a separate entity. They farmed it out to be run independently, and what it does is it monitors and it holds all of the trademark information that rights holders may have, and works with the companies that are bringing these new top-level domains online to protect trademark interests in these new top-level domains. So let's say, for example, .llc does actually come online, and so a company wants to register a domain in that, so they want, for example, they could be example.llc. And if somebody has a trademark in that, in their company name or some other major product, what they would want to do is register that with the Trademark Clearinghouse, and as we'll talk about in a little bit more detail, as these new top-level domains come online, there are processes that go through to help protect these trademarks in these new top-level domains, and it won't eliminate, but it certainly will try to cut down on the potential for cyber squatters coming in to register domains. And since there are potentially thousands of these top-level domains coming online close to the same time, the Trademark Clearinghouse provides sort of a more focused way to analyze, what's coming online, and provide options for people. So that's briefly what the Trademark Clearinghouse is. Why should companies use the Clearinghouse? Well, it provides a significant opportunity for brand protection. It provides an opportunity for early registration of matching domains in each of these top-level domains. And it also provides notice of applications that are made by third parties, as part of these, the application process. And we'll go through that in a little bit more detail as to just exactly how that works. And what does it do? As we've mentioned, it serves as the central registry of trademark information. It's a requirement for these new top-level domains to work with the Clearinghouse. And as these new top-level domains are introduced, they're required to check against the Clearinghouse records at two specific points in the application process. And then they're required to provide notice to trademark holders of new domains, and, and also allow for early registration of these domains. The next question is, what won't the Clearinghouse do? And what it will not do is it will not block applications. What it will go into a little more detail. It provides an applicant of notice of trademark rights, but it will not block the actual registration. And it's also unclear what will happen after the end of the second period, which is called the the trademark claims period, and we'll have to see what happens at the end of it. It's supposed to last at least 60 days after the domain goes online. You read different things. It appears that there are at least certain domains where it's going to be more in perpetuity. These notifications are going to come in regardless how long the thing is running, but we'll have to see how that plays out. So how do you use the Clearinghouse? You have to register your marks with them, obviously, but there's two ways to do it. One is for a company to register its own marks, provide its own information, and there's a set price for it to applications that it does. The only limitation there is if they're paying by a credit card, I think that you can file up to 10 applications at any one point, and then you have to if you're going to file more, you have to, submit at least, up to 10 more in a separate credit card transaction. So that's one option, is registering your own. The second is to go with an agent, and there are lots of law firms and other companies that have already signed up to become agents. For example, our firm is looking into becoming an agent. And what an agent does is they can register trademarks on behalf of their clients and any other third parties, and provide the trademark information that's needed to register there. If you just want to be part of the trademark claims period, you don't have to provide proof of use of your mark. But if you wanted to be eligible for one of what's called the sunrise registration, these early domain registration, you have to provide use of your mark. In this proof, it's similar to how the U.S. Trademark Office works. We have to provide use of your trademark between the 5th and the 6th years, and then the 10th anniversary of each of your registration. You have to provide proof of in at least one class of your services or goods to there, and it seems to be a fairly straightforward process, but like I said, it's got its own vagaries there. So we'll see how that works. What trademarks can be registered? There's 3 types of things that you can register there. It's got to either be a registered trademark in a country or a jurisdiction, such as the European Union. Second category is a mark protected by the statute or treaty, such as like for example, in the United States, the Olympic symbols are protected by a statute or treaty. And then the court-validated trademarks. This would be ones in which you have a particular court order saying that you have trademark rights in a particular jurisdiction. And so those are the 3. What can't be registered is an application. You can't register common law rights. You can't register state registrations. It's got to be a federal, if it's going to work for United States registration, but it's got to have national effect. The next concept, which should be discussed, is just what exactly will be put into the system for systems to be checked against. And this is important, especially for design marks that incorporated some words, or for word marks in which there's multiple ways that, like for example, a longer word, especially one with spaces, might be transposed into a string to be checked against. And the concept here is called labels. And a label is a string that the trademark has been converted into to be compared against these new applications. When you file a registration with the Trademark Clearinghouse, you get up to 10 variations. Assuming you need it, you can have up to 10. And if you need more, they'll just start charging you a few extra dollars per extra label that you need. If there's some particular reason you need it for just due to the vagaries of your mark. Here's an example. It's given in the materials for the Clearinghouse, so I thought this was a good one. If the U.S. trademark of the words example and test with an ampersand. And so 3 potential labels could come out of this. One is example test, which is the words together. There could be example dash test, and then example and test with the word and spelled out. And so those are all acceptable labels that could come from that one registration. So turning into the actual operation of the clearinghouse, the first period that comes up is the sunrise period, which is after the domain first comes online. They're going to provide a period for the people who have registered their marks with the clearinghouse and provided use of the mark. This at least a 30-day window for rights holders to claim domains. You won't be able to register them directly through the clearinghouse, but what you can do then is if you've got an account with another registry, such as like a GoDaddy or a Network Solutions, you can register that and verify your rights through the clearinghouse, and they'll provide you with the ability to register the domain during that initial period. They can't give pricings as to what these sunrise registrations are going to cost. A lot of it will depend on the business model of each new domain. Essentially, they can each set their own prices. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But if there's any particular domain that you want to register that way, that's the period. There's like I said, at the very least, an initial 30-day period for rights holders to claim domains during the sunrise period, and we shall have to see how that goes. essentially that there will be a wave after wave of these coming online, and the clearinghouse will provide notification of what's coming out, and whether or not you decide to take advantage of Sunrise eligibility is completely up to you for each domain. And the next period is, as I've mentioned before, it's called the trademark claims period. It's supposed to be at least the first 60 days after the Sunrise period, and potentially for longer. If an application matches a label registered with the Trademark Clearinghouse, it doesn't block it, as I mentioned, but instead the applicant receives a warning that their string that they're trying to register matches a registration in the Trademark Clearinghouse. And then if the applicant persists with the application and actually goes forward with the registration, the rights holder is advised so they can begin proceedings if necessary to recover the domain from whoever's tried to apply for it. If they want to bring a UDRP or some other proceeding, this would be how they would start to do so. And again, this system does not block registrations. It merely provides a warning to the applicant. So it's not perfect, but with potentially thousands of domains out there, I think it's a rather sensible approach for providing some protection to the trademark rights holder, who can then just determine, let's say for example, you've got a registration for financial services, and so you certainly would be worried if somebody comes up with something .bank, with your incorporates your trademark, but if somebody's trying to register a matching string in one of the community groups, talking about like somebody who lives in Lisbon, so .Lisbon would be may or may not be problematic. Probably would depend on who it is that was trying to register and what exactly your trademark is. And so a lot of thought and process would go into that determination. And so at the very least, they provide a warning, and if the applicant persists, then they leave it up to the trademark rights holder to decide whether or not to take action against each application as they come up. But like with potentially thousands of domains coming online, it's a fairly sensible approach given the scope of it. But again, it's not perfect, and it's certainly not as broad, I think, as what the trademark rights holders were originally hoping that would occur when they set the system up. So how much would this cost? There's varied pricing structure. A lot of it will depend on how you go. If you go register them by yourself, that's the most expensive option. If you go through an agent, the agents get some incentives for registering multiple domains. The more domains that they register, the lower prices that they charge. At its most expensive, a 1-year registration costs $150 per mark. 3 years costs $435, and a 5-year registration costs $725. And it's also possible that agents will, charge fees in addition to these, charges that are charged by the clearinghouse, for their services and interfacing between you and the clearinghouse. But that's roughly what the systems will cost, at that particular level. In terms of strategy, I certainly would recommend that people register their core marks and those you want Sunrise registrations for with the Trademark Clearinghouse. It's important, I think, for people to sit down and consider what impact these new top-level domains will have on your clearance, monitoring, and business plans. Like if you're going to be, introducing a new brand, you can certainly look to see if, like the .com, .net, .org are available. But you can also look into now potentially thousands of other top-level domains and see if any of them are a closer fit for what you're trying to do. for monitoring. If you've got a portfolio that you are trying to protect, it certainly raises the stakes for protection there. And I think registering with the clearinghouse is a sensible way to get a feel for what's out there. And then hopefully the trademark claims period is indeed as broad as it appears to be, that it will continue beyond merely that 60 days of first first registration. What you don't want is people who intend to cyber squat just waiting out the first 60 days of registration and then going on. In actuality, what you want is these people to keep the system in place, so you can be notified of people later on as well. But we'll have to see how that goes, and especially with multi-year registrations, I certainly think that's a good way to go for people to register their core brands. You have to revalidate your trademark rights with the clearinghouse, like provide proof of use at each renewal period, and then if your rights should expire, you'd have to revalidate them as well. So like if your registration is up for renewal during that period that you're registered with the clearinghouse, you might have to prove use again. At the same time you prove use with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. But it's a small price to pay to keep alert with potentially thousands of these domains. We know that there's been, as I said earlier, 1,930 applications in this initial period. Once they've processed them through, ICANN intends to start a second and possibly even a third round of new domains, and do this on a semi-regular basis. They're just going to keep launching new domains and introducing them as they see fit. And I don't think that they're going to meet their initial thought that they do it every 2 years or so, because of the delays they've already had in this process. It's certainly gotten on months longer than they originally intended. When they first came up with the system, but it is. I think it's inevitable that more of these domains are going to be coming online, and so even though the Trademark Clearinghouse is not perfect from the trademark holder's perspective in terms of providing absolute protection for your trademarks, I think it does balance the interests enough that I think the benefits of registration certainly outweigh any of these perceived problems with not being as broad as what the trademark holders would normally like. So this is probably a good point to see if anybody has any questions. I should mention that there are certain places in which you can find information. ICANN's page on the new gTLDs is available at that address, newgtLDs.icann.org/en. At there, they have a list of their current applications that are currently pending and where they stand in the application process. The objection periods are starting to begin, and so we'll have to see how many of them pan out, get past the objections, and then they're going to go through a dispute resolution phase in which these competing applicants for the same domain will sort of fight it out to see who has the right to actually own this top level domain. So we'll have to see how this pans out. So that's a good page to keep in mind if you want to see how things are going. And the Trademark Clearinghouse itself is at trademark-clearinghouse.com. If you're interested in checking out the rules there in a little more detail. They've got a frequently asked questions page, which they do their best to try to answer the typical questions that come up, especially for someone who is considering registering their marks. And as I mentioned before, our firm is certainly looking into becoming an agent if we get enough interest from clients and other parties, to have us serve as an agent in this process. We'll certainly consider doing that. And if, all else being equal, we'll find a service provider, to provide these services if we decide not to do them ourselves. So the software provides an opportunity for you to ask questions, to raise your hand and ask questions. So if you're watching the live webinar, please feel free to raise your hand at this point and ask any questions that you may have. For those of you who are watching the recording, you can send me your questions to the email address or call me at the phone number below, and I'll endeavor to answer the questions that you have. So I'll pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions. Well, I am not seeing any hands raised, so I'd like to thank everybody for attending. The recording will be posted on the address on your screen, which is blog.davismcgrath.com/webinars. And again, for those of you who need Illinois MCLE credit, for those watching the live webinar, I believe you already provided your name and ARDC number to me through the webinar process. For those watching the recording, please send me your name, ARDC number, and how you viewed the recording at the address below. So I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and have a great day.